Well, I'm delighted to be here with Austin. Austin's part of our church community for the last 4.5 years, and he's agreed to talk with me a little bit about his own journey of loss and bereavement and healing. Austin, thank you so much. Will you say a little bit about your life and how it's been impacted by loss and bereavement?
Yeah, hi Archie. I lost my mum when I was little. She actually had her funeral on my 4th birthday. And I was just too young to understand, really. So I ended up growing up thinking it must be my fault. I must have done something wrong, I must be bad, and I didn't feel worthy of love. And that kind of settled deep within me. I wasn't a very happy child, and that kind of formed an identity for me to live to, really. And then a few years later, as a teenager into my early 20s, I was living with my gran, and one morning I woke up and found that my gran had passed away in her sleep. So, she lived to a ripe old age, but obviously still very sad. And then I was 23 when my father passed away of a brain tumour. And actually Jo, my partner at the time, was pregnant with our son, so my dad never got to see any of his grandkids, which was also very sad. And a few short years after that was when I lost my son. Beautiful little Addy. He was only 3 at the time, and he died of viral myocarditis, which I suppose is very similar to meningitis, but of the heart rather than the brain. And that was all very sudden, but it kind of just served to reinforce all those negative ideas, that anybody I loved would be taken away from me, that I'm not worthy of love, and it just created this really deep emptiness. And I did all the wrong things and from all the wrong places to try and fill that emptiness. I was addicted to alcohol, I was addicted to sex, I suffered from depression. There's an analogy that I like, actually. It's about the broken cup, and I think it's that all the tragedies and loss of my life, they represent all the cracks of the cup and also the brokenness that's come into my life. And it didn't matter what I did, everything I tried to fill that cup, it just all drained away. And it's only by coming to faith, actually, that now that cup's filling and not draining away, and the more that I draw near to God, the more that He replaces the emptiness.
I remember I baptised you 3 years ago, and you'd come to church here 4.5 years ago through a work colleague and done Alpha, and how integral, obviously, your faith is in this process. But then more recently, you've done the bereavement journey online. Will you say a little bit about how that helps towards healing? What is it about doing the bereavement journey that would help people who've suffered bereavement?
Yeah, I found it a really helpful course. Firstly, there's lots of different people at lots of different stages of their journey. I was in a group with people that experienced very recent and very raw loss, and through to people like myself, 20 plus years. But although we've suffered differently and we've coped differently, there's that shared experience. We all had that sense of commonality, that sense of solidarity, and that was really helpful and supportive. But also, say it's 20 years for me, but it's I learnt new things on the course too. After all this time, there are still times when I do struggle, particularly around significant dates, and I kind of learned that it's hardly surprising, because it wasn't just the loss of Addy. I lost being a father, I lost being a parent, I lost the possibility of being proud of Addy's achievements, and potentially even the loss of being a grandfather. Addy would have turned 27 2 weeks ago today, actually, and he could have been married with kids by now. But I think God uses our brokenness. He uses our brokenness to create His own masterpiece. mean, after all, broken crayons still colour. But I think we all suffer unique things, and they're the very things that are the soil that God uses to root and to grow and to blossom. So yeah, it was really helpful.
When people talk about the last 12 months, they often say that it's been a year of loss, that we're all grieving things. I don't think on anything like the scale that you've just described in your own life, but I suppose we've all lost, whether it's work or future plans or meeting loved ones or indeed practically loved ones. What would you say to us more generally in this area of loss and bereavement? What are the things that you've found to help us in our healing?
Well, obviously, anybody suffering with grief, I'd definitely recommend to go on that bereavement journey course. But actually, what I really recommend is serving, and serving in any way you can, no matter how small, because it's actually been through helping other people that has really helped me. I mean, I volunteer in a beautiful community in Ghana. It's extremely poor, but the kids there, I mean, they've helped to mend my long broken heart. I love volunteering for Safe Haven. I kind of feel drawn to do more to use my experiences of grief and loss, of pain and loneliness, to try and help other people. I'm kind of drawn to that as well, and it's actually it's been through serving that I've experienced joy, and that, like, true deep joy that I don't think I ever thought I'd ever experience again after losing Addie. So I think we're God's hands and feet, and I think when we're doing His work, we're sharing His heart, and His heart is one of joy and love.
Oh, that's beautifully put. Austin, thank you. Thank you for being willing to tell us something of your story, and thank you for being part of our community and helping in the healing process of it.
Thanks so much.